No.
It's live there, asshole. Today with a high of 75 tomorrow. Tomorrow we go to Pleasantville again, which normally would suck, except as an independent full-time author, I get to go out any day I want.
And any time of the day. I'll wait until after it's done raining to go out.
Good on you. Although I don't understand the does when you fantastic, but one of the other individuals on the podcast, Lauren and Colleen were their names. Yeah. So Kayleen was the one where it's freedom, and Lauren was the one where she had talked about, she would really love to get that story of someone in the hospital. Which covers are you talking about?
All of them.
So what? So the backstory of this one.
Yeah, but on Facebook, are we showing? Are we talking? Are we jiving? We live in one with the.
Yeah, let me look. I'm not there yet.
Man, look, my internet's cranking today.
I know. Well, for me, 30,210 members.
Hey, I'm good. It shows that we're still live. Okay, we are not locked. So anyway, we are live. We are going, and we'll
interesting.
Cut it over to YouTube later. But the mountain. So for me, the money is simply an easy metric to measure, because that's everything. All the transactions we have in our publishing lives has a monetary value attached, because you can make 10,000, but if you spent 9,000 to make it, you made 1,000. I mean, that's your profitability, but your revenue, you sold $10,000 worth of books, and actually not 10,000, probably 13,000. If you're at the 70% rate, you sold $14,000 that Amazon took their cut. You got your cut. You paid your marketers. You paid Amazon advertising. You paid BookBub ads. You paid Facebook. You paid your editor. All of that. Everybody gets a cut of that. So, but it's an easy metric. So you can look at these and analyze your business. So that's why the money part. But you have the overall goal, this top of the mountain, which is retire in Cabo, which is what Michael had. And if he had done that when he hit 50,000, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, because he wouldn't be giving back like he is and continuing to climb a different mountain. He's heading for K2, having already cleared the top of Everest, because people said K2 is higher. So he's got to go all
you
the way
can't
back
do
down.
that. Well, fuck you. I'm gonna.
I'm going to K2.
That's right.
So Michael is on his K2 jaunt, and I'm trying to get up that mountain as well in a different way. I do have a monetary amount, but it's still this is for me. And my goals change. I have little stepstones on the resting places on that mountain. And one is I want a book that sells 100,000 copies. And I don't have that yet. I mean, I think my biggest seller sold 25,000 copies, but I have a big backlist. Okay, I make really good money. And seeing the numbers and a lot of stuff coming out, some articles and blog posts talking about what authors really make, that puts Michael in the top 1/1000th of a percent of all authors. It puts me in like the 1/100th of a percentile of all authors. And you think about that, it's like, holy cow. One person out of 1,000 actually writes a book who says, I want to write a book. And then one author out of 1,000 actually makes any kind of money at it, sell more than 100 copies. And then one out of 1,000. And you keep going down the line, and all of a sudden, you look at the average of what people are making in 20 books to 50K for like one book published or 3 books published or 5. We are well above the average anywhere else, the bell curve. The average here isn't the average. So once you come over here and start looking, you see, okay, hey, this is what these guys are doing. They're publishing a book a month. Holy shit, I can't do that. No, don't worry about that. That's not anything else. That's a different mountain. And it's a really steep mountain that you got to keep climbing and got to keep digging to get upward. Your mountain, if you write one book a year, that's fine. That's your mountain. It's not as steep, and it has different challenges. You have ravines you have to climb through. You have sticker bushes that you have to crawl through. We all have the same thing, it just different goals. So what you can reasonably do without going insane, and then what do you need to know to reach those plateaus on your journey up your mountain? And this is what I was bitching about my class, teaching them. Most of them, just half of the class was memoirs, autobiography. And I'm not knocking them. I expected that. But they only want to sell one. One guy's like, I have the book written. I want to publish it. So I worked with him, and he did the test run of how to publish. We brought up KDP and went through it. So he achieved his goal, was to get that book written, but then he changed it and said, I want to get it on Amazon so my extended family around the world can then just buy it. Mm-hmm. And I want a paperback as well, 275,000 words. Holy cow. I'm like, well, you can go up to 8.5 by 11 and get your 820 pages with white paper and cut the font down. So you can get it into one book. It'll be a massive tome, but it's for his family. So he's good. So his focus was different, and actually more in line with my focus was, how do you publish that book? And I threw out all of the advertising and stuff and marketing, because there was 2 out of 24 who actually cared about that, but neither one of those had a book published. So got to get that book published first. And how did we get them through their goals? I didn't actually make them articulate what is your goal, and that's something I'll do for the next class. Is you got to tell me what your goal is, and write that down, and that's going to be part of your name badge. Is, what is my goal? Because if it's just get this book done, that's a different goal than somebody who says, I need to make enough to make my mortgage payment. And that's a lot of folks here. The job market, it's great, but it's not. Everybody's different. So if your goal is, I need to make my mortgage payment and I love writing, the Venn diagram, how do you get that sweet spot in the center where you get to do what you like? And, oh, by the way, you make enough money to make your mortgage payment. That is significant. So if you want 50,000 readers, I suggest that a lot of our business principles and stuff that we talk about in here will help you reach that goal. If your goal is to just get it published, there's a lot of stuff in here to help you get there. We try to get away from craft just because there's so many different craft conversations, and I don't want to kick people out because of the Oxford comma again, but I will. I mean, if anybody goes off on the Oxford comma, we're launching them. You don't belong here. Because you're dictating to other people that they should use or not use the Oxford comma and name call. Why would somebody call you a name because the Oxford comma? Oh my God.
Well, I think, I mean, if it goes back to the beginning, when I created the group, the point was I set it up so that everybody could join. I did not appreciate at the time feeling like I had to go and become somebody before the who's would allow me or tap me on the shoulder and go, hey, man, why don't you come over here? And it really was. I mean, back in that time in 2015, we understood that it was a more congenial group back in 2013, 2012. And then a lot of people came in and a lot of crap happened. And those that, had the toys kind of picked them up and moved over here because who wanted to be around a divisive arena? So when 20 Books was created, it was like, okay, everyone can come in, but you're an adult. And if you can't act like an adult, you're getting kicked out. Now, you might apologize and get brought back in, but there's no guarantee depending on what you did. Then, of course, the other one that I've mentioned multiple times is the second rule for not selling yourself was because too many authors don't make enough money. That's the point of them being in the 20 books to 50K. And someone says, buy my book, they're very empathetic and they're going to feel somewhat of an obligation. And I'm like, I'm not even having that. That's not a safe environment for someone to come in and try to learn to where they can make $50, $100, $300, $400, $5,000, $10,000 a month. So, we've had to adjust. But the reality is, I didn't want the arguments. I didn't want to know this is how you write. BS. Everybody was saying this is how you write and get a big book or get a good book that sells. I had broken all of those rules. Ergo, not going to believe it's going to be true. So let's not even have that in this group. We're focused on the income side of things because I felt that could make a change in people's lives. There was plenty on how to write. That's not necessary for this group.
How do you define your goal? How would you say somebody just starting out, they kind of have half a book written? And this was what I ran into with my class, and I think where they stymied me, because my intent when I started off to write a book, easy enough. My goal was write the goddamn book, and I did. And now these other folks, it's like, well, I'll write a book. But then they waffle so much, like, what the hell is your real goal? What do you really want to do? What is achievable for you? And that was the challenge I had. So what advice would you give a new author who hasn't written that book yet?
Well, it still goes back to what's your mountain? So let's pretend, for the sake of this discussion right here, that whatever their mountain is, they have to finish the book. Then in my mind, that is the most important. Now, if they're very business oriented, I would agree that they can start their social side of things. They can start acquiring email lists because you can effectively give away other books in the genre you're writing to get an email list focused for that genre when your book comes out. So there are things that you can do in order for the marketing side to be better. But related to the book, frickin' type every damn day. I mean, I don't know how many times I fell asleep on my first few books typing. I'd get up the next morning, I'd wipe out a quarter of the page because I couldn't even understand what I meant. I had fallen asleep typing. People do look at those of us with a little bit more success and they're just not willing to do it. Get off, you know? It's like, yeah, there are really good reasons why it is challenging. I get that. But for those people who just want it without realizing that you might have to fall asleep typing and your head hits the laptop, I don't have an answer for you. I didn't do it. That's the only way I knew to go up my mountain was pushing through it.
You made your first. You wrote your first 4 books. You were working full time as a consultant.
Technically, I had the thing, but my main client was off on a hiatus, so I was getting paid, and I had this free time. But yes, I wrote 4 books in basically 60 days.
And while working, while waiting for
yes,
the client
I
to
did
call
some
you
work,
back
but
at any
yes,
time.
yes.
Yeah. And that was so you publish those 4 books and you're making serious bank and still working. So it's doable, but it also set the stage of what's possible. Because you'll never know if you can't get a book finished, all of the rest of it is meaningless. So this is why I say you have to write the book before you do anything else. You can do other stuff, but then you have to know that you're going to finish the book. So the goal, I think one of the goals for us is you do have to finish. Otherwise, everything else is meaningless. You can build the biggest newsletter list ever, but if you never finish a book to sell them, then what are you doing?
Yeah, push the fucking button is how I expressed it in Vegas the first year. You've got to push the button. You've got to publish, even if you're freaking out, you don't have a good book, and that's the problem. Then get a 10,000 word book or something. Grab a pen name, push the button, get over that fear, and start learning. It's very similar to stock market. When you play the stock market on paper and then you do it for real, you will find out they are not even close to each other. The emotions that get involved will stymie you in the stock market, and unfortunately, they'll stymie you in this as well.
Yep.
Your father, your brother, your mother, your sister, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle are not going to give you the right response as it will if you get 10 readers in that genre to read your book and give you that review.
That's right. I'm glad you brought up the investors. I have been pretty fortunate with my investment portfolio, but still, as you grow and start dropping those 10 grand buys and drop a 10 grand buy, and the next day that stock drops 50% and stays down 50% for the next 6 months. You just lost 5 grand one day
Only
in
if
hours.
you sell. Only if you sell.
Well, I eventually sold because I needed to do something, but but still dropping 10K and then 50K bets. It's a bet. Future results are not guaranteed. So yes, you can write a great book, and this is one thing that I see people do is they write that first book and it's a runaway hit. And I've seen a lot of authors like that, and they take that as, hey, I've arrived. Can you replicate that? And book 2 does not replicate that. Then book 3, 4, 5, and by 5, nobody's buying at all. Okay, what made the first book successful? And now you put on your business hat. What made the first book successful? What's my new goal? Because if your first book sold 250,000 copies, and I do know a number of people that was indeed the case, then what did you do on that first book that was different than the second book, or prevented people from buying the second book where they got into the first book, but then and business analysis, and then how do you replicate that? And I think one of the greatest examples was Dave Chesson, KDP Rocket, Kindlepreneur. He wrote a book and it sold pretty well. And he's like, hey, I think I've got a formula here. And that's why he came up with KDP Rocket, is he says, and he did a different pen name, first book, and replicated the success of the first book, because He's like, hey, keywords are key. And this was a number of years ago. Keywords are key. And he went through those. And I think he did a third iteration with a similar successful result. So then he went into the keyword business because we need that help. There are a number of different ways to get your keywords, but it goes to one small element of the business. But a lot of these things have been tried by people who then move on to other stuff. So the goal, if you want to sell more books, is you have to learn what you need to know when you need to know it. And I personally, I didn't have a newsletter, I didn't have a media, I didn't have a Facebook page, I didn't have any of that when I pressed publish on my first book, when I already had 3 books written. I had the first 3 books written, and I was sitting there looking at them like, oh my God, I got to do something with these. And finally hit publish, and it was out there. It's unpublished now, but I sold that one to a traditional publisher. But the other ones are still cranking. They're still out there. They're still doing well. And the very second book I ever published out of 100 now, or whatever it might be, was just had a BookBub feature deal. So you never know. Backlist is money, and
So let's talk
that rejuvenates the whole line. Yeah.
But I know that it's not a mountain conversation, but unfortunately, I will squirrel. And we talked about this. Your book you wrote 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you had a BookBub. You spent $400 on that BookBub. There you go. But in that same month, you made 1,000. I think you said. You told me, right? So a $400 investment on something that you already had. You know, how many times would you go to the stock market and do that? If you were almost assured of making 150% ROI in 30 days, mind you, a lot of times in business, we think of it as a year. Myself, I think of everything in my business in 30 days. How much did I invest in that book that we're releasing? Am I getting that money back in 30 days, 60, 90? And if not 90, that stuff is gone. You know, audio averages, I've been told, roundabout ways, 18 months for a lot of companies. I am livid if it's taking 18 months to get our audio back. So I'm trying to figure out, I don't accept what is traditionally normal standards. And I don't think that we as indies will typically do it, because here's a little bit of what I see is the difference. Trad pub companies hire people to implement solutions. They look at the solutions from a monetary standard of what's been good for the last few decades. They are not personally involved, spending their personal money, where they're like, hell no, am I going to wait 18 months to get this money back, because I need to turn it. So I am at least more aggressive than someone would typically be, because that's my money. You know, I've got to get that stuff back, or eventually I'm not going to have food on the table.
That's right. That's right. That's the cash flow conversation. You can't pay a lot. And 18 months, also the life cycle of a book. If you keep doing promotions, you can extend that life cycle. But if you write a book, and especially standalones can be the biggest victims of this, is you write a book, then you write another book, then you write a different series, that they peter off, and even your best-selling book will taper off over time to a point where it's not earning pretty much anything. And then you run a promotion, and James ran some great ads starting in January on the free trader. So it really picked up. So by the time I had my BookBub, I was already selling a lot, spending a lot on Facebook ads. But so I tapered those off when I had the feature deal, tapered them off to nothing, spent about $400 on that book, but got the $1,000. Actually, it's not even the end of the month yet. So it's going to be well over $1,000, probably 200%, maybe 300% ROI by the end of the month. So that one small element out of all these books, but that leads to 12 books. So the read through and stuff like that, which are metrics, and my goal, my mountain is populated with all these numbers. So if you look at if you make a mountain out of pi and just stroll those numbers all the way to infinity, that's what mine looks like. It's filled with numbers, and you got to climb and jump and bounce. And there's a lot of percentages in there, and they better be 3-digit percentages, as in 300% ROI, 200% ROI, that kind of stuff, because those are my hurdles that I need to get past on the way up the mountain. It's also a separate goal is that 100,000 seller, and that's That'll happen on May 6th when Michael and I launch a book.
I don't know what 100,000 you're talking about. 100,000 bots.
Clearly is on May 6th.
I want to talk about if your goal is writing. Let's take it back a little bit and go, you know what? My goal is I just want to write. That's it. I'd like to obviously make money from this writing. That is a hard goal in and of itself, because after you write that first book, that second book, that passion project, and it becomes less theoretical of what it takes to write this book and more, butt in seat. All right, now you're having to get over stuff, but it's no different than wanting to go for an award or anything else. You've got to constantly be with it. If you want to acquire income and you recognize that you are not an aggressive business person, fine. Just recognize that and go, you know what? Your path up the mountain of success is going to be different than mine. I know an author who writes. She does not do well with world building. That is not her capability, but she wanted to be successful. She found a partner who did the world building and built the stuff, and she'll write the hell out of the books and wrote books that sold very well, and then she shared some of the income with someone else. Figure out what's your path. That's why I keep saying my path is not your path. My path might give you wisdom if you choose and you think that my path is the one for you, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, even if our mountains look similar. Don't constrain yourself. Think outside the box and move forward that way as well. The goal we have here is for you to have your success. That's it. That's what we want. We're not here to tell you and dictate to you what your mountain is. And so if you're looking at it, you're a writer, you're willing to give up some of your income. That starts going to a hybrid model like LMBPN and some other companies. Craig and I both know Craig's done it as well in his company as a publisher of someone else. Now we have the skill, we have the business side, and if you like working within that, then there are those opportunities. You could go TradPub. There's reasons to go TradPub, and I talk to many authors who are successful on the indie side, and they are looking at TradPub deals. Why? Discoverability. Their minor mountain is to get found by new readers. I have a few theories on why it's such a pain in the ass to do that, and why it seems that we can't make a bestseller, an international bestseller. Those things seem to be driven by luck, as well as somebody else perhaps willing to put $100 million. I mean, I've seen some of our books do fantastically well, and I can only, after having looked at the numbers, believe that while we have a great cover, we have a great blurb, we're doing some advertising, for some reason it has hit in Amazon and they are telling a shit ton of people. Because it doesn't matter if 3 people out of 1,000 buy your books. If someone shows 100,000 people, you're going to have a 300, books sold day. That's going to make you sit up and take notice. What happened? And if you knew that it was 100,000 got you 3 books, then you would just start asking the question, how do I get in front of 100,000 more? What's the cost? Because if the cost is $20, you'd be an idiot not to just slap your dollars on the table from a business perspective. It would not be a wise choice. So we look at that and we move forward. But what is your mountain? I had I can say this out loud because they put it on a podcast one time. But C.M. Raymond and Ellie Brabant, they had a dual mountain. One of them, which is they loved literary work, and they also liked superheroes. Not exactly 2 genres that are congruent, and they ended up doing a mashup of those 2. And I said, chances are very bad that you're going to find much of an audience for literary superhero work. Stories kind of need to lean in one way or the other. Literary tends to be toward awards and a smaller group, and superheroes, people who love the whiz bangs and the bam pows and everything else. Find one of them. Lean into that and maybe understand that these 2 mountains are a little bit mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I see somebody asked a question about or made the statement that people always procrastinate on things they aren't confident about. Well, if you want to be confident, then you've got to address those issues. And personally, we can't tell you, but if your confidence is I don't write well enough, There's one way to pass that. I don't hit good enough tee shots in golf. You know how to do that? You go hit more tee shots. So if you think you don't write well enough, if you don't think you market well enough, you have to practice. You have to anything that you do. It's not a gift. I mean, look at Michelangelo. Oh my God, a gifted artist. Yes, he was, but he practiced. Look at the stuff for sale. Hey, here's his line drawings. He was practicing. Even the great Michelangelo practiced. So no matter who you are, you need to practice. So to build confidence, if you're afraid what people will think, then write it yourself and review it yourself until you find something that, hey, this really isn't too bad. And that's the only way past it. So if you keep procrastinating, then possibly the Venn diagram of writing and doing it in any kind of manner might not be your best goal. Your goal might be, I want to write short stories as opposed to long stories. I can never get past the first 10,000 words. Okay, then write books that are 10,000 words long. Find something to help you build your confidence. Practice, find a partner, find a shared mind. And then once you do and you beat these things up, and that's what we're doing in Edinburgh, you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find somebody that's, oh my God, you think just like I do. What about this? Hey, add a vampire. Oh man, that's great. What a great idea. And you're going to jam some words and you're going to be stoked. and you're going to, and you might change your goal then. It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to move to urban fantasy from my pure fantasy because it has these other elements I can bring in my background. It's easier for me to write. I write it more smoothly. Okay, whatever it might be. But understand that the only way to build confidence is you got to practice at what you lack confidence in. And sometimes it's just your misperception of your own abilities. Don't let your own a narrow vision restrict you from what's out there. And that's like Edinburgh. I told people that for the genres. Okay, here's the genre. And we have to, just because pure space, you can't, everybody go anywhere you want. I can't do that. I mean, science fiction, here's a space because we have 50 people signed up for science fiction. We have 40 for fantasy. We have like 30 for urban fantasy, and then the others are smaller. Well, we can't put 120 people in one of the small boardrooms because they only fit 8 people. So people are like, oh my God, but I write urban fantasy as well as science fiction as well as nonfiction. I don't give a shit what you do. You pick one because there's only one chair for your butt. You've got to do something. You're going to walk around. You're going to find somebody. And don't let your restriction of, I need somebody who writes urban fantasy, science fiction, nonfiction. Otherwise, I'm going to fail. No. Open your mind up to all the different possibilities. Maybe there's somebody in romance who writes something and you're like, that is what's missing in my books. Even if you don't write romance, you're going to find that there's certain elements, certain tropes, certain styles. You know what I've been reading lately? I write science fiction. I write military science fiction. You know what I've been reading? Louis L'Amour. Louis L'Amour wrote a freaking story. He wrote a story that you just got into it and you start reading it. It's like, it's down home, it's easy to read, and it's good stuff. So you never know. Because I'm like, I don't do Westerns. I mean, sure, I'll watch John Wayne on TV. Who doesn't? And if you don't make me kick you out of the group. I'm mentioning it. You're done, buddy. Michael used to be. Michael used to be in 20 books.
Oh, my dad's a big John Wayne fan.
Hey, you went to Endgame yesterday.
No
spoilers. No spoilers.
No.
Did you cry?
Yes.
All right. That's cool. Nothing wrong with that.
Screw you, man. There goes my man card, man.
Yeah.
That's my man card.
It's sexy though, man. It's sexy. A man who cries at Endgame.
Yeah, well, there you go. It was funny when you were talking about vampires a little bit earlier. Is what that it's like everything can do better with vampires. Everything. It's almost like there should be a T-shirt. Romance with vampires. PNR. Or don't even say it. I know what you want to say. Don't go there.
No, May Sage posted yesterday on her personal page about how she's doing. She's like number 4 in the vampire romance genre, and she said this is a huge genre, and she didn't think she was going to get higher than number 4 with her most recent book. But that's a specific genre, and May Sage called it a huge one. And May Sage can only get to number 4 because vampire romance
I'm telling you, I mean, vampires is like, oh, vampires in space, that'll never sell. Booyah, baby. That's right. But you typically what we have to learn whenever we joke about these things is that you still have to market to one genre, even if your book encompasses multiple
Yeah,
genres. And
yeah,
so I know that we can't, explain everything that's on here, but within mountains, understand what is it that's driving you. Is it a personal project? Is it something you've been thinking about since you were 12 years old? In which case I call that a passion project. Sometimes you can't get past and learn where you need to go until that passion project is done and just recognize it and then do the passion project. Who knows? Your passion project might make you $1 million.
yeah,
We don't know. So, but do it, get it done, get it there and get it out there. You know, I'm not here to sell you crap, except if you happen to like fantasy, sci-fi, urban fantasy, paranormal, romance. Yeah, if you like to read, okay, there. But otherwise, I've got no class. Craig makes me freaking buy my tickets to Las Vegas. There's no income coming from there. Um, so, we're here only because we care. I could be out
yeah.
having breakfast right now, which is not such a bad idea. But I called Craig up this morning. I said, hey, it's Saturday morning. What time are we getting together? And what was your answer, Craig?
I was, oh, it's Saturday? Yeah.
And that's it's like my wife's out. I have no idea, and that's where we're at. Unfortunately, that's also a big problem with a lot of us is like we don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
So we want to encourage you. That is our purpose. That's the
Yeah.
only reason that we're doing it. Craig put a book together only because A, it helped stop questions, having to answer the same damn question over and over and over again. And B, he uses the income to pay for stuff like what's coming up with SIFWA in just a few weeks. How many people do we have right now registered for the lunch?
I actually cut it off at 40. I think we have probably 5 to 8 who aren't going to make it. I mean, Yuda, he has a panel at 12:30 or noon, and it could be a half hour ride away. So he may be able to not be able to make it, and a number of other people. So I'll probably open it back up for 15 more. I've had a number of private messages from people. Oh my God, it's full. How do I come? Okay. Because we can hold up to 67 in that room. I don't want to put 67 people in there because I figured it'd look like a Super Bowl Sunday. So probably take about 10 more, and we'll open that up as we get closer. They gave us a really good deal, so it's only going to cost us about $1,500 total between the two of us. So not bad.
Okay, but let me ask this question: what are you selling at that event, at that lunch? What are you selling?
Oh, nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm giving pens away.
Oh, okay, so you giving pins away.
20 books, 50K pens.
And then let me ask the question: what is the cost? What is the charge for people to come to that lunch?
Oh, nothing.
So let me get this right. Hold on, this isn't making any sense. And yes, I am kind of pissed at this because I heard this third party when people are like, what are they selling? I'm like, wait a minute. We have a lunch for 40 to 50 people. It's going to be about $1,500. We aren't selling anything, and we're buying everybody lunch. Okay, I'm done. Rant's over.
Yeah, it's people don't understand because, and I understand where they're coming from. Nobody, Robert Heinlein said it. Tonstoffel. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch. Well, and it's. I mean, my book is available on 20 books to 50K. It's the only book that is advertised on 20 books to 50K. But I take all of that revenue, and I just gave away 2,000 copies to celebrate 30,000 members. We take that income and we put it towards these meals. So kind of, no, I'm not buying it, but everybody gets something out of a book that costs $5 is all. And hopefully you get something from it. But the luncheons, I mean, we get energized. We get stoked by the people there, especially when people come up to you and pull you aside and say, you changed my life. Yeah. That is probably it's, you talk about crying at Endgame. You want to cry. It's like, oh, hey, man, look at this. Hot peppers. Oh, geez. It's very impactful, and it makes a difference. And that's what we do. Yes, we sell fiction. That's what that's what our goal is. But we also change lives. And that's, I'm willing to spend 100% of what I make in order to keep doing that, keep changing lives. Because also I have this backlist. I can do these other things. But still, this is it's also just part of who we are. and it makes us different than other people who they've come across in their lives who, yeah, I'll have you to lunch, like those free lunches that the timeshare places have. Oh my God. This isn't that. We're not trying to sell you a freaking condo in the Bahamas on a week that you can never get off. So understand, this is us giving back, shaking hands, looking people in the face, and saying thank you for believing us. Thank you for sharing what you know.
Yeah.
Because other folks have tried things and they found stuff. It's like, oh, hey, cool. Let's put that into effect.
Yeah, it's not that I don't get something back. Obviously, everything that Craig you just mentioned is great. I love seeing people just, go up to Craig and say that he's done things that's changed their lives. That means a lot to me, and that's was part of my personality when we started this whole thing. So I get that part. It just is a little annoying at times to have people, push it back, but come join us, find out answer the questions or ask the questions you would like to know. I'll give you the best answer I know at that moment.
Somebody asked a question about schedule. Are they talking about 20 books, Woodland Hills, not quite Burbank, and definitely not L.A.? Because that long named thing is just a luncheon. We're just going to be there talking around. We're not going to talk about our butts as much as you probably want us to. We're not going to. But we'll talk about self-publishing. We'll answer questions. We'll pose questions.
Yes.
Like, what's your goal? I think that's going to be one of our new questions. What do you want to get out of being a self-published author?
And James,
I look forward to it. I look forward to hearing how what your goals are.
At the CIFL conference, as far as I know, I kind of made it plain that the one panel that they were looking to have me on, I told them that's not appropriate. I don't even know the answers to these things, and I hadn't been asked. So I'm not on any. I'm there to just mingle, have fun, help whoever's there. If you're if we're walking around, ask the questions because that's what I'm there for. It's I'm not personally expecting to do much more than that. Meet some people, create some relationships. That's my goal. If you swing through the hotel and see us, say hi. SIFWA itself has a membership, but not too many things I'm going to be going to.
I'm on one panel, and that's the SIFWA self-publishing committee, of which I'm a member. So that's the only panel I'm on, and of course the Nebula dinner on Saturday. We're all going to be there cheering on our 6 different indie authors who are up as finalists for the Nebulas. Udanja and Ronnie from the Expanding Universe. We have Amy Duboff. We have Rhett Bruno. Mm-hmm. We have that Fox guy, Richard Fox.
That foxy man.
Foxy man. And who else? I think I missed somebody.
I'm sorry, dude. You know that I don't track.
John Brazy as the last one. So yes, we have 6 indies, and there they are, all finalists, and we're proud of them. We're proud of the great stories they wrote, and that's most important. They wrote a great story. As far as awards, it's yes, BookBub will put that if you're a Nebula winner, if you're a Hugo finalist, they will put that as like the first line, USA Today bestselling author. And I think they've trimmed that back. That if you were in a box set to get USA Today, they don't count that. That it needs to be just like.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
I had, and I personally haven't seen it because I'm not. I just sell books, and obviously not enough to hit those lists.
Just one thing though, to give fair credit, if you get a Nebula award, then the Chinese publishers will probably seek you out. Even if you get, I think, just the nomination, in China, it is a very big deal. And I think that Yuta might have said that he's already closed a deal, or a couple of people, Rhett Bruno maybe as well, closed deals just based on the fact that. So there is high value for those who wish it. There's no argument there. It is objective, measurable proof that getting a Nebula can help your sales in multiple ways.
Yeah. They closed the deal for the Chinese rights on The Messenger. So well done. So that's what we'll be as far as the schedule. I've seen one, but I don't think they've actually published a final schedule. And you actually, in order to see that schedule for the nebulas, I think you have to be a member and registered or something, because I have to go through the portal to see mine, see what the schedule
Do we
is.
know what the dates are?
It's the 15th to the 16th to the 19th. Thursday the 16th. The last day is Sunday the 19th. There's a mass signing on Saturday at it's right in the middle of our luncheon, so of course we're not going to go to the signing. But
Yeah, sorry.
the mass signing is on Saturday. The reason we made it Saturday was to appeal to as many people as possible to come and join us.
Yeah, weekend off type of thing.
Yeah, I guess we could have made it Sunday instead, but that would have meant missing like the final bits of the conference and some last follow-bys and things like that. So we made it Saturday.
So we'll be obviously at SIFWIT, and I also will be at BEA, Book Expo America in New York, and the APAC. That's at the end of May. June, I think we're kind of open. I can't think of any. Oh, no, I'll actually be at a Western convention in Tucson, Arizona, June 19th, my anniversary date, through the 22nd. And then we have July. We'll be flying to Edinburgh. 2 weeks later, Worldcon. Beijing, will be in Beijing for the Beijing Book Fair at the end of August, I think. I won't be making it to Dragon Con this year because I will have just literally flown around the world in about a month, and I'm going to be tired. So I'm like,
Hey, if we're a finalist, then we'll find somebody to represent us, because I'm not going to Dragon Con either. We're just too many people there for me. So
really,
I am not. I know. It's hard to believe. I even have a separate some cosplay stuff for this year, but I'm not going to go. I'll do Edinburgh and then Vegas in November, and I get there plenty early so Michael can take me to Ping Pang Pong, the absolute best Chinese restaurant on the planet.
It is really good.
And I've eaten at a Chinese restaurant that's on the Dead Sea, or not on the Dead Sea, that's on the Sea of Galilee. It's a kosher Chinese restaurant, and it wasn't bad.
I'm not sure how that would.
It's not Ping Pang Pong. I'm telling you, man, it's not.
Yeah, Ping Pang Pong is amazing. We've taken now multiple people there, just because it is, and it's in a second tier casino, and but yeah, oh, so good. Now I want it. I might have to figure out.
So good. I'm hungry for it right now, and I'm nowhere near anything. I had a microwave burrito last night, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. I had a steak at Herbs and Rye, which Richard Fox and Jonathan Brazee and was it Scott Moon, or was it? Oh, I can't remember his partner. What's Scott's partner? His
Josh Hayes.
Yeah, Josh Hayes. I can't remember if it was Scott or Josh Hayes. I think it might have been Josh Hayes. The four of us went to Herbs and Rye. It's over on Sahara. It's on the opposite side of the 15 from the Strip. And they have I shit you not, 120 ounces of meal. And what they do is they have, the prices that are there. For example, they had, I think the price was $54 for a 9-ounce filet mignon, of which during a big chunk of the day is half off, so $27. I had it last night. It was delicious. But you don't get four guys together, and then you take them to a steak place and then show them 120 ounces worth of steak for half of $390 and not have them throw the gauntlet down. Now, during this time, and mind you, we were all miserable. I don't think anyone more miserable, perhaps, than Brazee.
He said he carried his weight.
He said he carried more than his weight. But here's why.
You all lightweights.
No. But here's the problem with that. He's not telling the whole story. The whole story for this is the four of us go there, and we're in this booth at the bar area. So the bar is one part of the wall, and then you have a wall. It's kind of like a shotgun design, one wall of booths, right? And so we have four author body guys predominantly, although Brazee's still working out and shit, and one of them's a cop, and then Richard Fox and myself. And so but we're all there in this booth, and we see this 120 ounces, and you see that all of us are like, should we do this? We can do this, right? Yeah, so we go through this thing, and they deliver the meat out to us, and Brazee's like the only one who is like, if it's not mooing, I'm eating it. And that's his preferred methodology of medium rare, steaming off the carcass of the cow. So he goes and grabs a metric shit ton of the meat off of this plate before we send it back, because it's going back to get, cooked some more. Because 120 ounces of meat, they have just massive chunks of stuff all over the place. And so we ship it back so that we can eat. But he now has acquired a treasure trove of meat, which he, of course, starts eating. Now, none of us wanted that meat. It would have been wasteful if he had grabbed it in his flurry of seeing that gold treasure, like a dwarf going to a treasure of a dragon, grabbing it. So that's on him. And then he, of course, did eat some more of the meat that had been better cooked. So yeah, actually, he did a wonderful job.
Yeah, and eating raw meat, yeah, that'll sit in your gut really, really well. Maybe at one point in time we could digest that like normal Neanderthals, but not anymore.
No, but man, sorry, that was funny.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that was funny.
Goals.
120 ounces. That's
a
a
mountain. That's a 120-ounce mountain that I'm not going to climb.
Okay, but for any 4 people during 20 Books to 50K Vegas, let me know, or whatever, herbs and rye, make that a night out. Maybe you grab 4 or 5 people and decide, what the hell, let's go try this and have our own steak
or 12
story. Or 12.
Yeah, and we want pictures. Pictures,
Yeah.
please, to the 20 Books to 50K Vegas Facebook group of your efforts. Don't go lightweight. Don't go weak on us.
Yeah, don't go. No skinny people allowed. None of you, unless you can really put that stuff away down a leg.
Oh my goodness. Authors only, and their spouses and their friends. That's all. Nobody else.
Yeah, you can't bring a ringer. There's no ringers in this.
No ringers. No chow ringers.
Yeah, really professional eaters.
So goals. I will continue. My goal now is a certain thing. I'm slowing down on the collaborations and stuff like that, because just looking at what I want to accomplish, especially now, and what I saw with the Free Trader and that BookBub from a book that's 3 years old. I have a legacy for my family. I have a lot of books in that legacy that we can then take on at some point in time in the future. And this is where I will be mentoring my son in what this business is all about. My son is about 30. He'll be 35 this year.
Spoken like a true father.
not about. Yeah, he'll be 35 this year. He has 2 kids. The last one was just born a couple weeks ago. And the legacy that I give to him with all these books and the intellectual property, this is something that it's different. I never set out to do that. I set out to write books and sell books and be an author. But 2 years, I think I am now at 26, 27 consecutive months of a top 100 sci-fi author. Not a single day out of the top 100 in all of that time on Amazon. So this is something it's grown to be a little bit bigger than me, as it's now my family. And one thing that we did was Frank Roderus, his estate. We picked up 4 books, post-apocalyptic. He's a Western author, but he branched out and wrote these and never sold them. So we picked them up.
Sold them well, but yeah,
we touched them up, and now they are here. They're selling. They're providing an additional source of revenue for his family. So I hope that somebody does that for me when 4 years after I'm gone.
Yeah, but that's a really good point. We have a friend that we know who has a publishing company, and they focus on publishing backlists. And it's something that we're looking as well. But he is changing lives. He's changing the lives of ladies whose their husbands finished writing 10 years ago. And he's able to take their Westerns, take their action adventures, and publish them and, give them monthly support now, checks coming every month, because of something that was written honestly 30 years ago, 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and that's the backlist, and that's so appropriate. Think about what was the Margaret Atwood book that's really popular that they turned
Handmaid's Tale.
Thank you, Handmaid's Tale. That had been in potential production for video for 20 years, 30 years, I think. We're coming.
It's an old book, yeah.
Yeah, it is a really old book. So you never know, the book you write now, you're passed away in 40 years. In 50 years, it might be making money for your family. because it got turned into, a video product or something. So your mountain can be anything. It is your personal mountain. My path of the mountain might have advice for you and yours, but that's up to you to take it. That's all.
Yeah, and just adjust your goal, not to as a roadmap. Here's exactly what you need to do, because you cannot in self-publishing and writing, you cannot follow anybody exactly, because that's plagiarism. No, it's you're still telling your own stories in your own way, in your own unique way, and that's something that yes, I love Brazilian too. Yeah, I need to go there.
Oh yeah, we have another good place here in Brazil. So really, I think what we might end up doing it's too early or it's too late to do it this year, but next year we might end up making this a week-long event where we have stuff that's outside of the core event on, Chinese Saturday, and
All of them will involve eating. All
yeah.
of them. This is the writer's paradise. Don't bring your computers. Bring an appetite. That's
Hey, there's also the thing that we're talking about this year. We're going to go shoot guns, blow up a
drive
tank or
tanks over
whatever.
vehicles.
Yeah,
Things like
that type of thing. So it is. And these things, fortunately for us, especially those of us who write urban fantasy military stuff, and if not, you should, is a tax write-off.
It's all, yeah, that's right. That's Kendra Meeks is finishing up her week in Aruba. She won that as part of the raffle prize, the ultimate raffle prize out of 20 Books Vegas. She is in Aruba right now, and yes, she got the
Pictures or it didn't happen.
tickets. She got the we've seen pictures.
Oh,
We
we
have
have
seen
shit.
yeah, yeah. And people were like, "Oh, hey, nice vacation." Oh no, oh no. Tax deductible writing retreat is what we're calling it. We will never ever call it a vacation.
And
I don't take any vacations. I always take tax deductible writing retreats wherever I go.
research is what Joe Solari just said.
Research. Oh, you bet. You bet. All of it is viable. And one thing, the IRS absolutely has no idea how to deal with authors. Now, all we have to do is, hey, here, I published a book while I was on the road. I wrote a story about this town when I have stories from towns around the world, at least put in there some way. It is it has always been deductible for you, not no meals for your entourage, but the
Oh, that's
hotel room. Hey, your wife gets to stay for free on your research trip, as long as there's no additional cost for the extra body in the room.
yeah. James Rosen. He says he can come out with him as he does weapons research, doing a zombie laser tag thing for research as well. I actually think there's something going on here where it has to do with perhaps lasers and zombies for all I know, but it's just something that we can do. Take a look at it. Yeah, we're invested in trying to help teach people the business side of things so that everybody has a leg up. Craig, you have a saying that you really like, which is, a rising tide lifts all boats. And I do, there are caveats and qualifications, but in essence, that is the core of what I believe as well. I'm not concerned if someone, I had to change my goal to say J.K. Rowling. If I'm not doing better than J.K. Rowling, I have an opportunity to do better, or myself. I kind of prefer to go to J.K. Rowling because if myself suffers for a month, I'm kind of down. But if I go J.K.
I
J.K.
think you're
Rowling,
lowballing it. You're lowballing it, man.
yeah.
James Patterson, 90
Oh
million
yeah.
year in, year out. J.K. Rowling is on her book sales is way down. Way down. On the year that they started pushing Harry Potter movies, she made well over 300. I mean, one of the 300 million, one of the biggest years ever for an author ever. And so she has made over $1 billion with her writing, but James Pat, 91 million year in, year out, he's making it. So he's number one like 8 years out of 10. But he's always right up there. That consistency is a business challenge. So you don't have the one and done. And J.K. Rowling is not one and done. I mean, she does the Galbraith series as well, which are very good in a different way, and they're very well received. But they're not Harry Potter. They don't have a theme park after them and a series of movies.
Who does?
Yeah, no, that's right. Nobody does except Disney, and now they own half of everything.
Yeah, in the world.
Except
No,
the other
I
half, which they own outright.
it seems like we really hit a nerve when we were talking about the taxes because all the stuff that was coming through. Daniel Martone says we like our mobile writing studio right off everywhere we go, which I thought was funny. And then I thought, wait a minute, I've got a laptop, my mobile writing studio. So, but yeah, should any IRS people be watching this, we support all IRS rules, regulations, and things. But I'll try like hell to make sure that that I can legitimately take that stuff off.
Yeah, and that's it. Eating in your own hometown is a challenge to get a write off. You have to have people visit and you entertain them, and you get to write off about half of that. But there are know what your limitations are. And Bethany Ann, May 6th, 100,000 books sold that week. That week.
I realize you're apparently taking the rules of PR from my wife. Everybody does this. You ask her,
so
and she goes,
I can
well,
have
actually,
a new goal. A new goal after that, which is a million seller. Million. All right, man. I think we have bent people's ears,
yes.
twisted our discussion, steak and taxes. Mountains. So steak and taxes. Of course we went there. Two guys talking about self-publishing. There's so much to this business. And this is, we'll go to Woodland Hills, not quite Burbank, and definitely not LA. And we'll meet with 50 of our peers, fellow authors, and we'll talk about all things. And we'll run out of time before we run out of things to talk about. And over the next, those 4 days, we'll run out of time before we run out of things to talk about because there's so much going on in this business. There's so much fun things, so many great things. Who would have put a vampire in space who wasn't really a vampire, although they could suck blood and get energy from it? But it's not because of being a vampire. It's because of science fiction-y stuff. And Andy Weir, who would have thought science the hell out of this or science the shit out of this was going to be such a popular phrase? But I bet you he did when he wrote it. He thought, this is great. And then he kept writing and he wrote a great story that was then picked up. But stuff like that, you never know. Tell the story and then go on and tell the next story. And what I've seen is every time I have a new release, like right now, I'm looking at book sales and I see the numbers popping up here on the screen. Every time I have a sale of one book, every other book sells. If I don't have any sales going on, so it goes to visibility. And this is the mountain. I love seeing big numbers on book sales. And this month has been a very, very good month for me. So people say, oh, April, man, book sales suck in April. Well, release some books, man. Push some promos, do some things. And one thing I learned from some of the top sci-fi guys is promotions. So my mountain, some of those plateaus are now promote one of my series each month, maybe even two, have a 99-cent deal, have a free first in series, and then push that. And intentionality, and that's one thing that with as I'm writing release strategies, that's one of like 4 different books I have open on my screen right now. Release strategies is the intentionality. If you go rapid release, if you're releasing a book a week, book every 2 weeks, you lose the ability to harden that release with promotions, with shares, with a lot of advertising, because you simply run out of time. And especially if you're looking to write that 3rd book, 4th book, 5th book in that series while you're releasing. So if you release a book every 2 months and you're writing full time, guess what you have time to do? You have time to set up the hard release where you have the promotion, where you have all this stuff, the 100,000 books. I mean, Michael and I have been working hard for this release coming up on May 6th, and we're not promoting that here, but it's coming up. But we're trying to hedge those numbers. 1 week we have pre-orders that will be set up in a couple days. And hopefully all the issues on pre-orders will be resolved and we'll be able to upload it and get our ASIN.
Just a note, though, just to clarify, Craig and I have been doing this a while. We have a lot of income. We have people helping us.
Yeah.
Don't, we're not one person, God forbid, we were one people bands on this. So just, I say that because sometimes people don't recognize that and they feel like, oh my God, I'm not getting all this done. No. We did it when we only had a couple of books to our name. Now we don't.
That's a good thing because people ask me, do you ever sleep? You know what? You can extend, if you work 80 to 100 hours a week, you can make a 200-hour week by farming out the extra 100 hours. And this is one of the things we do. We have Michael has built an infrastructure. I have a mini infrastructure, and these folks all come on board and help us. Many at no cost. Many are just they're good people, and they help out and gives them something to do in retirement. And we really appreciate the hell out of the help they give. And
yes,
there you
absolutely.
are. We get 200 hours out of a week instead of 100, and it's the only way to expand certain things. Still keep writing, still be doing this, have this other series releasing, and oh, by the way, here's a big release. There's more hours of work to do in a day than we have, so that's how we do farm it out. But that's drawing back. I'd like to do, not that I want to do more, but I want to do more of the right thing, which is very intentionality behind some certain releases. And that's I have a book that I've been working on, The Green Door of Fate. Michael bought me a cover for it because I didn't want to hear him tell me my cover wasn't good, so he got it for me.
That's not true. You do so many things for me that I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy this for him, and he'll find out about it when he doesn't have to pay for it.
But there we are, the Green Door of Fate. I'm writing that, and that one is going to be a little bit different style. But that's going to be. I'm calling that right now my magnum opus. I want it to be that great book. Whether it doesn't sell or not doesn't matter. This is a book that's going to be for me, but it's going to be a great book because I won't let it be anything else. So I'll take as long as I need to. I have no date to publish it. I have a great cover, thanks to Michael. Thank you. And I have I'll get there with that one. It'll be a standalone, so there will be much intentionality. I'll probably do a 3-month pre-order on it when I finally have it written. And this is me. I have it written today. Christ, I want to publish tomorrow. No, I'm gonna, once I have it written, then we'll do a 3-month pre-order and we'll start hitting things that way. I don't. I've not been big on letters and stuff like that, but USA Today. I don't know why my best book on somebody who sold 250,000 books couldn't possibly hit good numbers. I've talked too much, clearly. So anyway, here we are. We talked about mountains, goal setting, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-oriented. Pick a time. That's what a SMART goal is. As a consultant, yes, I repeated that an awful lot, but it has to work for you. It has to be your goal, but it doesn't hurt to have it written down so you can refer to it. And that's a big thing. A lot of people will say, hey, this is my goal, but then tomorrow they can't really repeat what that goal was. And a week down, they don't even remember what they'd said. Write it down and keep driving towards that goal. It also helps measurable and achievable in your control. Like selling 100,000 books, that's not in my control, but the intentionality behind a release, that is in my control. So that's what I was getting to do with that long diatribe that rotted out my throat. So yeah, I'm still going. I
tried to expand your image here so I could read what was on your whiteboard, but unfortunately, you're getting the depth of field effect where it's making the whiteboard blurry.
Which is good. I only have I've got 2 things that were done. I've got an outline. I can erase that stuff because that's people. When I have newsletter shares, I write their name down so I don't forget on the date. So that's,
you should do shit like newsletter shares, James Patterson, J.K. Rowling.
Oh fuck, that's coming up. Yeah, endorsement from Margaret Thatcher. Oh, sorry, no, I mean Ronald Reagan. Oh no, damn it, they know it's fake. All the best memes are wasted. That's what Abraham Lincoln said that.
Yeah, so it was interesting. The podcast name is skipping me, so if you remember what it is, let me know. But Lauren and Colleen, it was funny because I was talking to Lauren before the podcast itself, and she had mentioned that she's working on her release, and that Colleen had already released something. I said, "Oh, so you're the James Blatch to Mark Dawson." So we understand what this is right now. So, James eventually will get a book released sometime, we think.
Eventually, and this is an ongoing. I think he probably already has it published under a pen name and just says he doesn't, just so Mark can give him a hard time about it.
That would be funny.
You've arrived when Mark Dawson is trolling you, like he already did to Michael last broadcast.
Oh,
So
he got
that's
me good. Yeah, I didn't realize that was him talking. So
who's that? Nice, and you're like, oh fuck, man. Let me explain this. Like, oh, dude, you just got trolled. You just got trolled, man.
I didn't know. I didn't have. Now I have it at least up right now that Facebook. So I had no idea that it was actually Mark asking the question.
All right, people. Peace.
Peace out.
We will see some of you in Burbank. Not quite. Actually, it's not Burbank, as I've been vociferously reinforced.
Those LA people are really pissed off, man.
Yeah, wieners. Woodland Hills, almost Burbank, not quite LA, and definitely not LA, and definitely not the beach. So anyway, we will be there in a couple weeks. And I have 3 pounds to lose, so I'm on track. My mess dress fits for my Marine Corps uniform. Jonathan Brazy and I will be in uniform for the Nebula Awards to honor our good folks who are finalists. All right.
Later, folks.
Till next week. Ending broadcast.